Let's talk about 5 things that from now on in my home theater, entertainment, and gaming spaces, I will make sure to never do, never buy again. I will never buy another audio processor that doesn't have an HDMI audio input on it. Now, if you're talking about receivers and multi-channel home theater stuff, you're probably more assured that you're covered with HDMI and specifically HDMI support for eARC. In our hobby like CEC and eARC, it can be challenging aspects of our systems and they don't necessarily always work right, or historically they may have had problems. But having the flexibility of both of those functionalities in your system can just pay off in dividends. So I have my equipment very far away from my living room. I don't really have a great command and control setup outside of Control 4, of course. Control 4 helps solve this, but if you didn't have an expensive automation system and your equipment is removed from your point of control, man, CEC can actually really be a lifesaver in certain situations. And as it is right now, because my trusty Anthem STR lacks an HDMI eARC input, I'm using optical 2-channel to go with my sources through the television, piped down here over a long optical audio cable back into the STR. It would be nice to be able to just use HDMI eARC for that. You're guaranteed to have better support for higher bit rates and higher fidelity audio, higher fidelity multi-channel audio, and again, that one HDMI cable can manage both that audio connection as well as some command and control. So I've been very pleased with the Anthem STR here. I think the sound quality is just absolutely fantastic. However, Anthem, come on, if you make when you make an STR2 or whatever you decide to call it, that thing needs an HDMI CEC enabled and eARC enabled port on it. And every other 2-channel or stereo or preamplifier or integrated amplifier maker out there, come on, HDMI inputs should be standard on every one of those boxes nowadays. Pay the licensing fees, get the thing on the box, and stop fooling around. Next up, I will never buy less than a true 4K display device for any of my home theater setup. So here in my home theater, right above me, there's my JVC NX7 native 4K projector. If your home theater setup is based on a flat panel or a living room type of space, you really kind of don't have to worry about this one so much, because really honestly nowadays, what televisions are truly less than 4K? But in the projection area, we still see a lot of wobble, E-shift, pixel shifting types of projector designs. Full native 4K has not really proliferated all the way down the price spectrum yet. I would encourage you though, if you're thinking about speccing out a home theater space and you're going to go for projection, for the peace of mind, the absolute no doubt that you're getting all the pixels on your screen, we have enough models available and the price points are ticking down enough. We have things like the JVC NP5 available to us. If you can manage it, if you can hit the price points necessary to do it, I would not recommend buying less than a 4K native projector. I will never do that again. I've been very happy with the JVC NX7. I'm not under any super impetus to upgrade. I am looking forward someday to having an NZ or whatever the follow-up model of an NZ might be, getting into laser and all of that. Maybe stepping up to a more premium model in the JVC line as well. But when it comes to these devices nowadays, that's it. I'm native 4K or bust. And some folks will probably sound off in the comments, well, the Epson LS12000, yes, it is an excellent projector. I agree with that. I agree with that 100%. But for me, sitting down in my theater, I just like the peace of mind knowing that I've got a full-on resolution lock in my system at the native source resolution of pretty much what all of my devices, Kaleidescape, Apple TV, gaming systems, and so on, are putting out. I want that 1-to-1 pixel match. I want the peace of mind. And if I were to sit down with a sub-native 4K projector in the home theater, I would be doubting, and for me personally, it would be affecting my experience. I will never buy third-party accessories when there is a first-party option available. For the most part, this one kind of relates a little bit more to gaming and things like add-ons for your consoles or your PC or whatnot. Always going first-party. For me, Xbox, Microsoft official branded controllers, Sony official branded controllers. I think I've just seen too many hassle factors. Not that these always work perfect either, but I think you open yourself up for pain and frustration trying to usually save a little bit of money to buy third-party things to add on to the stuff that you have, rather than just always sticking to the verified, more fully tested and qualified first-party option for your gear and accessories and equipment. That goes for controllers, iPad, iPhone accessories. It's a little more expensive to stay on brand. You know, the keyboard attachment for my iPad Pro, for example, versus buying a Logitech or something. But again, when you stay on brand, when you stay in party, you are always guaranteed to have the best experience with regards to updates, integration, features available, and features working like they're supposed to, than when you try to bolt on third-party stuff to your gaming consoles and the other home theater gear, AV equipment, and electronic devices that you have. Now, sometimes we can't always do that because in some respects maybe there's not specifically a first-party option available. Case in point, these old fight sticks that I had here for my prior Xbox consoles, those are Mad Cats's. But in many cases as well, even if there's not a first-party option, there may be a formally approved or licensed or blessed option. That might be the case for like an SSD expansion that you could be putting in your PlayStation 5. Yeah, there's not specifically a Sony-made SSD, but there are like made for PlayStation or qualified for PlayStation types of things. So if you can't get a first-party option, look for something that has like stamps of approval, stickers of approval, and so on with the first party themselves for at least a little bit more assurance that, again, it's been tested and quality assured to integrate and work with some reliability. In a lot of cases in this hobby, in my experience, when you go off brand or you try to go too cheap to save yourself money on something, you're probably inviting the need to spend more money again later, because that thing just won't have the reliability, it won't work the way you want it to, and you're probably going to end up buying the other thing that you should have just bought to begin with later on anyway. Next up, I will always, forevermore, treat and EQ my rooms. I used my theater some years ago for a period of several months before I was able to get these various acoustical panels and treatments in here, and it was okay, but as soon as this stuff went into the room, everything changed. It was a transformative upgrade to the space above and beyond anything else that I may do on the audio front in here. Sound got more detailed, sound got more clear, bass got less muddy, everything just locked in, sharp, and better quality. Of course, that's harder to do in a living room, having a treated space, but think about what you have around a living room space nonetheless. If you've got a rug, maybe go for a thicker option, a more plush option. If you have bookcases or other things where you can kind of create makeshift diffusion in the living room, go ahead and do that. I benefit from basically sitting in front of a complete wall-to-wall, floor-to-ceiling bookshelf. So I've kind of got the ultimate level of diffusion and some bass trapping behind me. A nice big couch, a nice plush rug. I'm not going to put acoustical treatments through the rest of the living room, but do what you can, work with your spouse or significant other, and try to come up with the most that you can do to help improve the sound around your space. And of course, if you have the option for the dedicated home theater and you're speccing out a system, you're creating a budget, make sure that you are budgeting some money for room treatments. And so this one kind of has the A and the B. The A is the treatments. Most important, the B is the room correction. Now, I don't spend a lot of time in my systems playing with manual audio calibrations. I don't have many DSPs, and I don't really use REW for anything advanced. I like the Anthem gear. I like Anthem Arc. I think it does a fantastic job, and I think it does it in a way that I understand the software. I understand what tweaks I like to make in an Arc configuration. I have very high level of faith and respect and good regard for Anthem Arc, as well as the confirmation bias of seeing other reviewers and folks in the AV home theater audio space also regarding Anthem. That's not to say that Odyssey and Dirac and those other options aren't really good as well, but if you're not going to really get into the details of manual audio calibration, I recommend picking a brand of devices that has a room equalization program and option that you like, in that you have a good affinity for learning to use and applying to your space, and stick with it. I was such a fan of Anthem Arc and how it worked and what it accomplished in my theater room that I went ahead and went from the AVM70 in the theater, added the STR for the living room, giving me the ability to run the same stuff. And then I completed the trifecta, the zone audio around my house being driven by an Anthem MDX, ARC in all of the audio zones. I ran it, I tested it back and forth, and to me, unanimously, a good Anthem ARC calibration was the superior sound option versus not applying ARC in all of my spaces. I will always opt for the larger screen. I will never again opt for the smaller screens when it comes to my home theater, entertainment setups, or really any devices for that matter. Man, bigger screens just equate to more impactfulness, immersion, and particularly for me, I'm sitting 13, 14 feet back in most of my spaces. I've got an 83-inch OLED here, and I can guarantee there will not be a smaller television than that ever hanging in this living room. In fact, I would be jonesing to get this thing up to 88, 97. I don't care how much better the 77-inch is in terms of some image quality or picture quality. I think the 80s are still great. We're splitting hairs. I just won't go down in that size. Same thing in my theater space. I've got a 163-inch scope screen. In a future upgrade, in a future room changeover, I'm not reducing that size no matter what. So if you're faced with the decision about displays, which one to choose, I implore you, really consider screen size. Screen size is such an important factor in home theater immersion and just even being able to see and make things out, particularly if you're a gamer. You're looking at sitting further away from a screen that has UI elements and text and all that sort of stuff. Man, having that stuff bigger to me is kind of a lifesaver. And this is the case for all of my devices as well. Future MacBooks, I'm not buying the 14. I'm sticking to the 16. iPads, 12.9. iPhones, man, I'll take the Pro Max every single time. Some of that is a reflection of the fact, okay, I'm not getting any younger. My eyes are not getting any younger. And the distance at which things look blurry is unfortunately starting to creep a little too far out than I would like as I sit at dinner sometimes looking down at the blurry blob of my plate trying to figure out what I actually want to stick my fork into. So hey, I'll take a 15-inch iPad, Apple, whenever you decide to make one, please. But I think a lot of people compromise too much on screen size, so man, make the appeal. If the significant other is holding you back, make the appeal, make the justification, beg, plead, do whatever you have to do, and maintain that screen size for immersion. Now, don't go nuts. Honestly, when I did my first theater build and I had a 16:9 screen, I opted for a 135. I really thought about a 150. You have to realize the specific limits of where immersion goes to overwhelmingness, and that was it for me in that sense. But 135-inch 16:9 at 14 feet in the home theater, and now the 163-inch scope variant of that, man, it is impactful, it is immersive, and I wouldn't want to go any smaller. So there you go, 5 never do / always do for my home theater, audio, video, gaming, and entertainment electronic devices. Sound off in the comments. Let me know. What rules have you kind of defined for yourself in this hobby for how you would execute it in future purchasing decisions, future system specification and setup and install decisions? I'm curious what folks have to say in the comments on this one. Otherwise, please do all the regular YouTube stuff, like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, share the video if you enjoyed it, and if you would like to support the channel, I've got super thanks, I've got channel memberships, and affiliate links to a variety of vendors like Amazon and Audio Advice. So when you want to go buy all kinds of really cool gear that conforms to the 5 rules that we just said right here, check out Amazon, check out Audio Advice, please, with my links and referral codes. Thanks so much for watching. Coming back for more home theater discussion and fun.